What's going on, everybody? My name is Nick.
My name is Dave.
And this is the Deep Dive, and we are in the first week of 2025, or the first Sunday in 2025. And so this is our first podcast, and we're talking about Epiphany today.
Epiphany Sunday.
Epiphany Sunday.
Yeah, I don't know, like in the official church calendars, if this is, it may be next Sunday. I don't know how they do that, but Epiphany,
We're celebrating today.
The day of Epiphany is tomorrow, so we celebrated it today.
Right.
Seemed appropriate.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Did you have a good New Year's? Anything crazy?
Anything crazy? Are you kidding me?
Yes. Yeah. What happened? This is my volleyball setup for you.
Yeah. My granddaughter was born.
Woo!
And actually last Sunday during the service, I was kind of out of it. I'm still a little bit out of it, but because my daughter was in labor last Sunday morning and gave birth at 4 o'clock last Sunday afternoon. So Aubrey turns 1 week old today. So I got to get cupcakes or something. I don't know.
Yeah, get a balloon.
But I wore pink today.
To represent.
Yes. Yeah, Team Aubrey.
Team Aubrey. I saw Teresa put that on below the chat, that they're worshiping together and all that. So that's cute.
Yeah.
Are y'all going to get shirts?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Probably. Yeah.
Very cool.
Let's get on with this.
Let's get on with this. All right. Well, we've already kind of done our banter section of this. Like I said, we're celebrating Epiphany today.
We're not going to comment on anything about football.
We can if you want to.
I think I've
postseason depression a little bit.
I think I've said several times to you, and possibly even on the podcast, that I was going to ride the train as long as it would go.
Yeah.
And so Georgia had a very good season.
They did.
I think we knew they weren't a championship quality team. But we're hoping.
Yeah.
We're hoping. But
they would find all the, watching the game, I don't feel like Notre Dame was better than Georgia, and I can't tell if I'm just a Homer Georgia fan or, I feel like Georgia giving them the short field a couple times.
They made some critical errors, but not having our number one punter.
Yeah.
Of course, not having our number one quarterback.
Yeah.
Although Gunner Stockton
I thought he played great.
Looked awesome, yeah.
Yeah.
So it'll be, always next year. Still got my
representing.
I'm representing with that, but anyway, all right. I guess we can get into the meat of the podcast.
Yeah, here. like I said, we are celebrating Epiphany today, and you were kind of talking about how this is kind of really the 12th day of Christmas, and you were really focusing in today on the characters of Christmas.
Right, yeah, there's the Christmas stories, and I think from that, and particularly the reaction that they had as we look at the Epiphany story, and, I associate the Magi, the three kings, if you will, with Epiphany because, they're, and it's okay, I don't get real, been out of shape that the fact that the wise men end up in the manger scene.
Right.
There's probably some preachers who would because they weren't there. They came later. If you heard in the text today, they came to a house, not the stable.
Right.
That sort of thing. So they, anywhere from a few weeks to some people say even as many as 2 years later is when they finally arrived and got there. And so, but they had their own epiphany that caused them to come seeking the Christ child. They weren't of the Jewish religion. They did not live in the country, but yet they looked up at the stars. They had the sense from the atmosphere that something was happening, and so they were curious. They were intellectually curious, and they began studying and found out about this birth that had been predicted, and they came to see what was going on. And through that, they had various encounters, of course, with the Christ child, but also with Herod, which ends up being one of our characters. But I did talk about there's a big cast of characters, if you will, in the Christmas story, and some that we don't usually focus on. Herod and the scribes, the teachers of the law who were there with Herod, we don't usually focus on them because they're negative characters,
right.
And they don't make really good manger scene people, but they are part of the Christmas story, and we can learn from them as well. And so the sermon focused on that, from the characteristics that they had that we need to learn from, and as a cautionary tale, not to be like them.
Sure.
And so you got Herod, who was pretty popular as a ruler there in Israel. They called him Herod the Great, even though there's a lot of reason why he wouldn't be. One thing, he taxed the fool out of them because he had all these enormous building projects that he did all over. But he did build up the infrastructure, and there are a lot of monuments and things that are still there, and archaeology that's there. I mentioned in the service that if someone has been to Israel, they've seen his work, or his, fruits of his time there.
Yeah.
There are a lot of things that are still standing that were built because of him.
That's awesome.
And the taxation of the Israelite people at the time, but he had them done. And so, a lot of, I guess we can thank him for that,
Yeah.
One of the things that he did was he made a lot of improvements to the temple. And I think that's sort of, probably made the Pharisees and the scribes and all them be able to justify, this guy's got some bad things about him, but he's got some good things too. He did this. And he kind of kept the peace with Rome.
Yeah.
They were under Roman occupation by the Roman army. And so, things went pretty well during that time. There had been some times when it did not go well, and it would not go well later. But at that time, there was a relative peace there.
Yeah.
And so, the things that I took away is what can we learn? One is that there's always a cost with Herods. Whether, he almost is a representative character. There's been lots of Herods in the world. There still are.
Yeah.
Some of them in political leadership positions, but some of them are just people that you run into every day.
Right. And you would equate a Herod to somebody who's got power and does anything they can to keep that power.
Right.
Is that kind of what you're?
And also operates under a basis of fear.
Okay.
Because he was always afraid of losing power.
Right.
And so, as I mentioned in the sermon, because of that, anything that was a threat to his power, suddenly he actually had them put to death. He had his mother put to death. He had his
sons, right?
3 of his 4 sons and his wife.
That's insane. See, I didn't know that part. I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, because he just thought that they were going to,
Paranoid.
take power away from him, and so he kind of lived in this fear and this paranoia, and also, but just back to the point that Herod's come with a cost, is that maybe he's able to keep the peace, but there's something that I think we lose of ourselves when we just sort of abide them and not confront what's actually going on, which the scribes and the Pharisees didn't. So, I think most people know the story. The wise men, the Magi, they see the star, and they end up they go to find out directions. They go to the Herod and say, we saw this star. We have read in some ancient text about this prophesied baby. We want to find it. And so Herod's response is pretty typical for him. He immediately thinks of it as a threat, even though it's a baby. This is a king. And so he lies to them and says, well, go find the baby and then come back to me so that I can go worship him too. But his intention was to kill Jesus. The Magi get warned in a dream not to go back there, so they went home by another way. And then we have a really terrible story, the slaughter of the innocents, where he then just wipes out, makes an order to have all the young babies in that area killed because of that. And then he dies, and Jesus comes back to Nazareth. And so, but anyway, so when the wise men show up, he gets the priest and those people around and say, hey, look, you guys know these texts. What's going on here? Is there something to this? And they're able to quote chapter and verse to them. Oh yeah, there is predictive prophecy here is in the 2 or 3 places where they say this is where it's predicted.
It's legit.
So they knew.
Yeah.
They knew. They of all people, they should have known, and they did know. But yet their reaction was not one of joy. It was actually, the scripture says that all of Jerusalem was in fear because of this thing. And so, I don't really know what to do with that, except that Oftentimes, it's the super religious people that are most opposed to anything new, any kind of change. Maybe it wasn't fitting their agenda of the Messiah that they were looking for, or maybe everything's okay. We don't really need a Messiah. It's going
That's
to
what
be
I was going to say.
disrupting.
Is I wonder if a lot of it had to do even with like, they knew they had a certain amount of power associated with it, and they were afraid of what it might mean for their own power more
Yeah, they
so
would
than
lose that. Yeah.
So.
Things have been pretty well here. It's going to make Herod mad, so we're just going to not do anything. So that's that's kind of, and so our response to that is to sort of kind of figure out and be warned about when that happens maybe in our own hearts and our own lives, but also when we can see it so that we can call it out.
Yeah.
So that also focused and segued into the Epiphany stars, the star words that we've done, I think, the last 4 years here. Did y'all do it before I came?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
I started about 3 or 4 years before I came here. So this has been, kind of something I heard about. And I think a lot of churches now, I see a lot of things online about it. But basically, if you don't know what star words, and I brought this just to remind you, if you're watching online and you weren't in church and you want to get a star word, we'll get you one. You can just send us an email, or you can text me or email me, and we'll take a picture of it and send it to you.
Yeah.
Send it to you. But basically, there's these cards, and they each have a word on it. And I've already done mine, but I'll pull one out. So this one says include, and so that would be your word. Now, there's nothing magic about it. It's not like a horoscope, but it is something that can be like a focusing thing, and it can be in Epiphany. It can be something like that God might open up something to you new by focusing on this word. So, I don't know what that might mean for you or what might mean for the person who got this card.
Yeah.
But God has, just many testimonies of how God has used and spoken through these words in the past. So, star words were today, as well as Holy Communion.
Mine was rise up.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means, but
Falcons.
Yeah, I was about to say,
tickets.
if you're making me have to be a Falcons fan like a diehard, then that's a punishment, Dave.
Yeah.
No, I'm just joking.
Well-
I like the Falcons, but last year I remember it was silence, and I kept making the joke that my boss is telling me to shut up,
This year we're telling you to rise up.
to rise up. So
So I'll be interested to see how God uses that and where you kind of land on how that's going to play
Yeah.
out this year.
yeah,
Rise up. Yeah.
we'll see. We'll see.
Take on something new.
I think the nice thing about it, and like you said, it's not magic. It's not, I was kind of joking with somebody I was waiting in line with, is like, oh, got to get my fortune cookie here a little bit,
Yeah,
that type of thing. But
yeah.
at the same time, in the past, it has been one of those things that it's nice to kind of have something to focus in on that might be outside of the areas that you're thinking of, which would provide some of those spaces of like, you use with stars, the magi, and that they use the stars as like a guiding tool. And this might
Right,
be a way to
exactly.
like guide,
Right on.
guide something in your world, in your life this year that's maybe you didn't even think about, or wasn't even on your radar. But when you slow down and kind of focus in on what this word might mean, and it might not be the very obvious first part, like silence. I thought a lot about the word silence last year. And my first thought was like, okay, do I need to just be still and listen? Do I need to try to avoid chaotic things in my world or whatever? But I really found that it kind of led me back into a space of like enjoying the spaces where I can be silent
Sure.
because of how much life is busy around. So really cherishing silent times as opposed to going, what could I be doing? What should be? So it was more of like, even in my daily, I wouldn't even say like, it wasn't even planned times necessarily. It was like taking advantage of the silence and recognizing like,
It kind of gave
this
you
is a
permission.
gift.
It kind of gave you permission. It's like, I don't need to necessarily fill this up with sound or activity, but I can enjoy and embrace the silence and hear God speak through that.
Exactly.
So it was kind of permission giving thing. I kind of look at my word this year too, because sometimes you pull out a word and I go like, oh really? Like,
Get another one.
yeah, but yeah. So it was play, it was play, and you know, I kind of like that. Of course, immediately because of being a new granddad,
Yeah.
I'm drawn to that. But I think it kind of gives me permission to focus a little bit more on play.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you know, initially, even for me, it was like, wow, after such like tense church seasons, how fun would it be
Sure.
to play?
Right.
You
yeah,
know what I
'cause
mean?
it has been
to enjoy
It
and
has been
to-
a real tough church season.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very good. Yeah. Right on. Yeah.
So.
I like that. But anyway, so we're back for another year of the podcast.
That's right.
It's always a pleasure doing that. I hope people get as much out of it as I do doing them, because I do enjoy
Yeah.
breaking this stuff down. And sometimes we have real good discussions, and
Absolutely.
um,
And sometimes we talk too much about
and
football.
sometimes we talk too much about or whatever sport is going on.
That's
But,
right. That's right.
But anyway, it's a real gift to have you on staff and sort of the partnership and all this, and to do this podcast with you. So,
Absolutely. It's enjoyable. It's a good time. You know, for me, like even personally, it's nice to actively break it down with somebody. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like, because I hear it, and
Yeah.
then it's like, okay, now I can actually talk more a little bit about it with somebody right after.
right, yeah. There are occasions where I can go into some things that I had to leave out.
Yeah.
But you know, and other times it's sort of like, you know, what did I say? So it'd be good to talk about it. So
Just in case somebody brings it up, right?
I enjoy doing this, and I hope it's enjoyable for you guys. And this may be a little shorter one as we start out, but I have to go be a granddad this afternoon, so I will claim that I do have an agenda for getting finished a little early today.
That's
So-
okay. That's okay. I got kids waiting on me from a retreat, so
Yeah.
it works out. But as always, you know, New Year's kind of a same outro though, is that we love the communication and the conversation that happens around these podcasts. So if you have anything you would like to add, there's boxes below on the Facebook, on the YouTube, where you can put in your comments and stuff like that. And we'd love to have you guys comment on it. If there's anything that you would love to see us dive more into, let us know too. Like any feedback is good feedback. We'd love to just be a part of that. And if you guys have any questions or any prayer requests, anything that we can do to continue to support, love, and just build up the community around here, drop it to us. You know our emails. And if you don't, go on the website and you can find it under the staff section and all that good stuff. But Dave, you have anything to add here at the end?
No, just Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
God bless you, and we'll see you next week.
We'll see you guys next time, and hey, go play.
I will.